You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 380, and my name is Clark from 5cardguys.com. You can also find me at 5cardguys, all spelled out, all one word, on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and on TikTok. Co-hosting with me is Hyung, who is at Cho Hyung, and you can find him on Instagram and YouTube as well. All right, Hyung, off the top, I think every hobby influencer and social media account in the hobby these days, they're talking about what I wanted to talk about just for the next few minutes. And of course, there's multiple takes on it, but it's about the Topps/Fanatics, their recent decision to remove the plastic seal off of this year's Topps Chrome Update basketball mega boxes, almost kind of as a pilot project to see how it goes. Now, for loyal listeners, we kind of touched upon it with Roy and Will when we're talking about Pokemon boxes. They kind of already do this in Japan just to, prevent immediate resale of the product and trying to get into the hands of collectors. So that's kind of what I believe Topps/Fanatics is trying to do. But yes, before I get your thoughts, here's the official statement from Topps. Quote, "While the cards and contents inside remain untouched, removing the factory seal helps discourage the immediate resale and gives more collectors an opportunity to purchase at retail. This initial test is part of a larger program working to ensure that more collectors can buy the products they love at retail prices," end quote. So Hyung, what are your initial thoughts on this? Do you think this is going to work to achieve that goal or not?
This is very interesting to me because I could see, well, one, right away, like my first thought is, I don't know, man. That's like, I think reselling is part of the hobby. I mean, I get it. Like, collectors want to rip, and it makes sense in terms of like retail, but I don't see a lot of benefits from it right off the bat. But the more I think about it and the more I extract it, it's interesting. Will it work? Will it encourage more people to buy retail, and that means they're going to rip? But my question is, how much of a problem is it? Like, is reselling a problem?
I guess it depends who you ask.
Because it goes both ways.
It is part of the ecosystem.
I think everybody who does resell, they're benefiting from it regardless. And it's part of their hobby transaction. So to me, it's like you're taking away an element to please maybe the old school collector of saying, oh, we don't have enough to rip or whatever it may be. Yeah. So I don't know if this is going to solve the problem, but I could see the logic behind it in terms of, okay, if we're going to do it in one product, it would make sense to do it in retail. And retail becomes almost the exclusive collector product line that, everybody has access to. They could go into a Walmart or Target or even like Toys R Us now, GameStop, wherever it may be, and they could find a product to rip. Whereas, these people that go to Walmart line up with their shopping carts ready to just dump in.
Yeah.
It will prevent that. But like I said, everybody is adaptable. There's going to be a replacement for that, because if there's money to be made regardless, next it's going to be, okay, do you trust buying on the black market these mega boxes without a seal? People are still going to buy it, right? And then that opens up the question, well, now you have an issue with if breakers are getting it, they're unsealed. Do you trust the breaker? Do you trust, other people with it that are reselling? You're not going to stop reselling. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like I'm indifferent. The idea seems stupid, but logical at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But yeah. No, I get your point, because the question I had was, is it going to go beyond mega boxes? Or like for people that don't know what you're talking about when you say retail, mega boxes are usually a retail product,
sure.
i.e. products that you find in those big box stores. Like you're not going to usually find it in hobby shops because they had got hobby boxes, they got jumbo boxes. You can because there is a certain allocation, but in Walmart or Target, you're going to see more of these mega boxes or blasters. So I wonder if they just kind of stick to this lane in terms of what strategy they're employing right now, and i.e. ripping the plastic seal for just the retail product, then I could see the benefit of it because you mentioned it, right? You will hopefully, for some people, for some collectors, will prevent those long lineups at Costco and overnight. So I think there is a case in the States where someone from Target actually ripped the factory seal off a Pokemon box already. And I don't know if that was a Target thing or if that was that individual store trying to prevent scalpers or flippers. But yeah, I think it's already being employed in an unofficial way. This is more on an official way through the Topps website.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be in all products. It wouldn't make sense because I look back at, when people still want sealed wax. Right? It's part of the hobby. And I don't think you could take away sealed wax because I would not touch a box of 2018 Topps Update, for instance, that wasn't sealed. It would make zero sense to say, okay, the factory seal is broken or there's no factory seal. Mm-hmm. How do I know that this 7-year-old box, and you could use this for any instance, 40-year-old box, mm-hmm. Let's just say you're ripping 86 Fleer, right? Would you,
right.
I don't,
it's a risk.
Yeah, it's a huge risk, right? And yeah, I don't see it going past retail. I think they would do this intentionally, but the flip side is, okay, they start with a small sample and it kind of goes to see how it works. And if it goes that direction, they would apply it to the rest of the product. But I see zero benefit to that. Like if anything, it would totally go against the current, which I don't think there's enough reason to, unless, we're missing something where long-term this is going to really open up profit margin for Fanatics or, whoever's involved, So yeah, I don't see it going past retail though.
I don't think it's a good idea to go past retail, to tell you the truth, right? So for exactly the reasons you stated, sealed hobby boxes, people like to collect them, invest in them over time. So if you keep it at mega boxes and below, then you kind of feed that itch for collectors to rip when they want to at retail prices. Now, the bigger question is, are there going to be exclusive hits for retail products, or are you going to evenly distribute them through all the products, all the SKUs, from jumbo hobby to mega boxes to blasters, and even hangers, right?
I think history shows that retail has their own hits and hobby also has their own hits. Jumbo has their own hits. That's how it's always been in terms of the hobby. And a lot of people actually I know people that purchase retail for that reason, right? Like for instance, X-Fractors. To me, that's a great parallel. I love X-Fractors and they're in retail. You can't find them in hobby. So, that would encourage me to go the retail route. Whereas, I know in the past, for instance, you couldn't get some true colors out of, different products and they're only available in hobby boxes. And then, in some jumbo boxes like HTA boxes, there's HTA choices that are exclusive to jumbos, right? And which people hate, by the way. Like I think, and then the market shows, right? Like when you see an exclusive parallel other than, let's just say, an X-Fractor, like a Blue Wave, for instance, that's maybe only available in jumbos. Then people are like, I'm not really, like, I don't like that chase. I rather go after a true refractor color, like a blue or orange in a hobby. I don't know like every product's different, but that was the logical thinking before. Maybe it's changed, but I think people, they're exclusive parallels, but I think in general, every card, like a baseline should be available in every box, because you don't want to rip retail and knowing that there's absolutely zero chance to pull a true color, for instance. That would suck, right? So, yeah.
Maybe you, and this is a good segue, and maybe we'll wrap this part of the segment after this, but this is a good segue to what we talked about off air. Just, Tops and Fanatics probably have data to support all their decisions. And then we think or a lot of people probably think this is random. Why are they doing this? They probably have data to support this is worth a try. And, I think in this case, I know there's a couple theories out there and on the internet why they would be doing this. One theory is that Tops and Fanatics, they're not worried about resellers. They actually like it because then it just hypes up the market, right? So why would they be doing this? Because maybe they see in the middle to long term, you need to still bring the collectors, the true, quote unquote, true collectors along. Because if they think they can't get any, product at retail prices, then they stop collecting. Then you're kind of losing some of the core in the hobby that you need. So you know what? Let's make mega boxes available at retail by doing this plastic seal. Hopefully that prevents a lot of flippers going into this territory, into this part of the hobby. And that'll be more for collectors. And, you're not going to stop everyone 100%, but it doesn't have to stop at 100%. You need to just, make some product available for collectors. And then you keep the core of that group in the hobby. And then it continues to grow. And ultimately, what Fanatics is always preaching on, they want to 10x the hobby. So this is kind of part of this bigger strategy of, trying to get collectors and investors on board, because they don't want to get rid of the flippers either. Right. I don't believe that at all.
No, I don't think that's the case. And I think that's speculation can be true. There's no doubt in my mind that data becomes the central pillar to decision making, especially in Fanatics standpoint. Like someone who's running $1 billion company, they're not gonna just say, because the hobby says so, or because so and so, or like they're gonna go off hard data. They're gonna do what's best for the future, and that's why there's both ways. So when a lot of us, we look at Fanatics and say, it's a get rich quick scheme. Mm-hmm. It's like, yes, they have numbers to hit, but trust me, in terms of Fanatics' best interests, it is for the long-term sustainability of the hobby. So everything they need to do has to cater towards that, while obviously hitting short-term goals, which are numbers, but they would not do anything drastic if they didn't have the data to back it up. So there is a lot of truth to that. We won't know exactly unless we interview. And even then, you probably won't get the right answer, because there's obviously internal, PR. Reason. Yeah. We will never know. We could speculate, but it looks like, that makes sense where, they're making an informed decision internally where it is better for them. But yeah, from our standpoint, we're like, what are you talking about? This is to me, it's insane. Like if you unseal, what about theft? If I could go into, a Walmart or whatever, and you're telling me that the packages aren't sealed. You know what I mean?
No, or the cashier will rip the seal. Or actually, but then you could steal the sealed pack. Yeah, so there's a lot of questions that.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. You're relying on too many variables and factors where it's like, okay, But like I said, I'm not cutthroat in terms of this is how it has been and this is how it has to be. Yeah. I'm interested in this narrative to see where it goes, right? I'm not mad or angry. I'm just interested genuinely to see, what is going on and why are they doing this, right? So
I just think it's going to work out, and whatever, happens, whatever the new norm is, so to speak, we're all going to get used to it. And then it's going to be old news, and then the next generation is like, this isn't weird at all, right? And like we were saying about the data, even what we're talking about in terms of what hits are in each product, in each SKU, I bet you data drives that. They're like, we need to put more hits in this product because this will increase sales. Oh, people are really looking for this kind of superfractor. We joke about how there's a million superfractors, but that's one way of getting people interested in buying different SKUs, different products of a set, right? So yeah, that's actually a really good segue into what we're going to talk about next. So let's move on to hobby headlines. So believe it or not, we're already halfway through the year. We're in July now. And like I was kind of alluding to off the top, there's data available on how the hobby has been just on fire, as we already know. So what I'll do is throw some numbers at you and explain what those numbers are, kind of put them into context, and then we can react to the latest data. Okay, so first one, 695 million. All right, 695 million. That's the total amount of money spent online on cards and sealed wax in June 2026 alone. That's nuts. According to Card Ladder. And just to put into even more context, that's more than double the volume or the number recorded a year ago in June 2025.
That's crazy.
This is, yeah.
I think, but I'm not surprised because,
right.
Like we said,
I'm a little surprised at how big the number is.
Yes, I'm surprised because we're at the point where that number's here. But think about it. Like we've been talking about this since 2020. We've been seeing the downturn in 2022, 2023, which really wasn't a downturn. It was a great buying opportunity, which we've said, great buying opportunity. And now we've been bullish on this market for the longest time, just based on supply demand, right? And how the marketing is, right? The ability to market, to communicate with the end consumer, the ability to leverage celebrity relationships, leverage high visibility accounts, getting the right people in. These are the things that we've talked about. So when we see the results of what Fanatics, collectors, everybody involved in the hobby has been doing, I'm not surprised. But yeah, we're in that era where, yes, this is what the 10x that that a lot of people were laughing about, right? And it's not because the product is that much better. It's the other elements of participation. How many more people are participating? What drives the marketplace, which is supply demand. So you have this rarity, you have the infrastructure of sport. So you have Shohei doing Shohei things. You have millions and millions and millions of people watching sport and making speculations in this marketplace, participating. That's all it is. That's all you need, right? And that's exactly what they've done really well, is they've provided that marketplace. And whether or not, we're not here to talk about morals or anything, we're just talking about marketplace, what they have created. And that's the result. What you talked about is the data that's coming out based on kind of like the actions that these leaders have taken in this hobby. And it's incredible. It's incredible to be a part of. It's incredible to report on, to critique, to applaud, all these things, because we're right in the middle of it, witnessing it, right? So that's to unpackage why I'm not surprised. It's all of those reasons.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to put it into, like, this is all about putting everything into context, because you could throw out numbers and it doesn't mean a whole lot unless you kind of see where we came from and where we are now. But I want to also add that, yes, Topps Fanatics doing a great job trying to 10x the hobby. Of course, it's in their own interest to do that because that's how they make a lot more money. But along with that substantial growth, I think at least half is attributed to TCG. Like, the Pokemon boom is real, so you can't forget that. But that also helps companies like Fanatics because they have the Topps Chrome Marvel IP and all those non-sports.
Right.
It elevates everything at the same time, right? So with Pokemon growth, you see everything else, TCG, non-sports related, all going up at the same time. It's incredible.
100%. And I think you hit it on the nail. It does help sports card and vice versa. because it allows these companies to kind of like, I guess, diversify their revenue streams a bit, where they're not relying on current market of sport, for instance. Like what happens if there's like a strike in MLB? You know, we don't know what's going to happen, but the market's dictated on day to day. Whereas, you know, you look at IP from Marvel, from Pokemon, from all these different, you know, intellectual property, independent companies that, you know, partnered up with Topps Chrome. That's where the true value is IP, right? And they understand this game really well, and how, and at the end of the day, if Fanatics wasn't bringing value to the marketplace, right, we wouldn't be throwing our money to it. So ultimately, they've done a really good job of how do we use IP like Marvel, because these are all important parts of our lives. It's our childhood, it's our livelihood in terms of whether you have kids, whether you participate, whether you watch movies as a hobbyist or, you know, whatever it may be as a fan. It gives an avenue where you could start collecting if that's your thing, or participating in something like that, where that value never existed. Or it did, but it was such a niche market where this is where the true hobbyists live, right? Where, you know, they've been collecting Captain America since the 70s or 80s, whatever it may be. They've always been around, but that was such a niche market. And now it's mainstream. And it brings so much value even to people who have kids, for instance, because it gives them an avenue to now, whether it's, oh, we do this as a hobby, as a family, whatever it may be. Regardless, it's value that they're creating, and reciprocal value comes in the form of what we pay in terms of emptying our pockets and bank accounts to, you know, participate.
Yeah, absolutely true. I agree with you 100%. And I'm speaking from personal experience. You know, my wallet is definitely lighter this year because of the cards I've been spending on, because it's been so much fun too, to do with your kids, like you're saying, and, you know, just to do with friends as well, because it's kind of growing in the culture, the mainstream culture, which we kind of talked about in a previous pod. All right, next number I'm going to throw out at you, 17.5 million. All right. So that number is the total graded cards for the first half of the year. Okay, wow. 17.5 million. That includes the 4-5 major graders. And of those 17.5 million, right, 12.5 million are TCG Pokemon submissions. So that they are just, in terms of insane. What is being graded out there, that's the bottleneck that we're seeing right now. All these Pokemon card collectors, guys like Roy, guys, myself included, we've all jumped onto the Pokemon ship, so to speak. But yes, are you surprised at that number? Just how many Pokemon cards are actually being submitted?
Yeah, it's crazy. I would have never thought that would be kind of like the leading category, because like I said, and this is the dangers of it too. I guess sport. There's sport, and then there's I guess the game side of things where, like for instance, I don't know how the market would react to cards that aren't valuable. True value. We talk about true value. So let's talk about Luis Robert in baseball, PSA 10s. We've all seen the true value come, because when demand isn't there and supply is plenty, prices have to crash. It's all supply demand. That's a marketplace. So I'm interested in to see, even though there's so many cards being graded, it's not necessarily, the fundamentals aren't necessarily day to day with sports, like sports. So if Shohei does Shohei things, prices could react. Whereas I don't know how much of the marketplace is going to react when there's so much out there. Is the demand still going to follow? So I could see something similar happening, even though it's growing. I could see it correcting. We've seen it in sports cards, right? Especially the ones that don't hold value. Usually the ones that hold value are scarcity, rare, right? And it goes back to supply demand. So I think you could see something similar. I don't know the marketplace of Pokemon as much, but having that many cards graded without the fundamentals that it's relying on actually. It's just fan base, really. How much true value of the common cards. I'm not talking about the rare cards. The rare cards are going to be, you're doing it right. If you're, the same thing. We said this in the baseball and sports side, numbered cards, autos, limited cards, high demand cards, and it follows the same way with Pokemon, right? But I know that there's not 12.5 million rare cards that are being graded. There's a lot of nonsense. Right?
Sure.
There has to be.
But I mean, yes. But there's a number of factors working here. I agree with you generally speaking, but the grading, the cost of grading going up and up, I think that will start to lower the number of submissions that are, base card submissions. Let's just say that, right? So I think that's going to correct itself over time. And then there's also the fact that if we're going to use that baseball Lewis Robert analogy, the demand is largely dependent on the performance of the player, right? Lewis Robert, had hype coming into the MLB. Obviously, that's died down. Injury issues, not as interesting anymore as a player, or not as significant in the game. So, of course, demand drops. But how do you calculate the demand of a Pokemon character? Like that's the hard part. And so it's not based on performance, obviously, because it's just a character. But part of that demand is dependent on like how many people are coming into and getting to know the Pokemon IP. And that's always growing. Like the kids these days, my kids, for example, learning about Pokemon, they're obsessed with it. And there's a certain time range too. They kind of grow out of it a little bit and then they might come back into it later. Like a lot of the dealers right now, they're all in their 30s, 40s that grew up with Pokemon. Yeah. So the demand is harder to calculate. This is what I'm saying in terms of when it comes to Pokemon or TCG cards in general. For
sure. No, absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like, as long as the customer base is growing, I don't think you'll see the crash. I think when human behavior realizes where the true value sits, and that we won't know, because on a bullish marketplace like sports cards or Pokemon cards or just cards in general, we won't know true value until the market corrects itself, right? Because obviously, like for me, like you could say that, yeah, these cards are worth as much as they are, but they're really not, because it's whatever the marketplace dictates. But true value occurs when, things start tapering off, and, let's just say you're looking at true long-term investment. Mm-hmm. That's where you'll really see it. And you might not see it for the next 5 years because we're in a bullish market. And we've all participated in stocks. Everything is good when it's going up, right? Right. But when would you buy, a rare card? It's usually when the markets are down, right? Mm-hmm. And those are good buying opportunities, right? So I don't think we're there yet, especially on the Pokemon side, because we've been so bullish. And we've seen it in the sports card side on and on again, where you get these hype prospects. There's so many submitted. And then true value gets exposed of, okay, what is this really worth? And it gets exposed more because, like we talked about, it's day-to-day fundamentals. If a player doesn't perform, that's going to dictate human behavior. So there's going to be a point in time where, is that sustainable relative to the influx of people coming in? Well, it depends on how many people are coming in and the supply demand, right? So there's going to be a point in time where it's going to be level off in terms of participation. There's going to be a point in time. Sure. Right? So it's like, when that hits, how does the market react in the long term? So that's where the question is we're in this funky place of growth and everything seems to be great, but realistically it's like, okay, when is a good time to buy and sell during this kind of cycle? So, and it goes back to, again, our collecting habits of buy rare cards, buy scarce cards, because that's where it seems to hold the value. Fundamentals.
Yes. Agree. And, but it's fun being in this kind of volatile ecosystem that we're in now.
I love it.
Because there's money to be made and there's money to lose, certainly. So it could go either way, for
Right.
sure. All right, I'm going to focus or zero in on PSA because they are, of course, the number one grading company currently. And in PSA, the number is 12 million. All right, 12 million plus of cards PSA has graded alone in just the first half of 2026. Okay, so 12 million, and that's compared to 19 million for all of 2025 by PSA. So if we extrapolate that, just double it, 25 million versus 19 million last year.
Crazy.
In terms of number of cards graded. So just kind of, we already have experienced this personally in terms of what we can grade now and what the expected turnaround times are, right? And there you go, the numbers that explain why that is. Okay, next number, 3.5 million. All right, so that number is the number of cards graded across all major authenticators in June alone, which is an all-time record. And we're saying every month seems to be an all-time record because the previous one was 3.1 million. Okay, I just wanted to wrap up that grading segment because it is a big part of the hobby. All right, I'm going to get into more specific players. These aren't the biggest or in terms of numbers, but it is interesting and might say something about the player or might say something about the hobby in general, wanting to invest in certain like maybe underrated players. So first one, 17.1 thousand. All right. So that number is the number of sales of Dylan Harper, not Bryce Harper, Dylan Harper's cards in June alone. Okay. Wow. So he makes the top 5. Dylan Harper makes the top 5, joining guys that we almost expect, like Wemby, Ohtani, Cooper Flag, and Michael Jordan. So does that surprise you at all that Dylan Harper breaks into the top 5 for June?
Yeah. What's the reason? Is it the timing of his rookie cards plus the Spurs run? Like I'm guessing that has to be it. Like
sure,
because I would see Dylan Harper as kind of like the third guy that you're collecting on that team, right?
Wemby,
because you got Wemby,
Castle.
You got Stefan Castle, and then you have Dylan Harper, which if you're into collecting, he's a good basketball player. Like that's what bright future ahead. Same with Stefan Castle, like all these guys. But to me, it's like, well, you got this massive guy that's overshadowing everybody. So to me, it's an emotional thing that this is what we're talking about, is true value there. And for me, it's like I already see it. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm not buying or selling, or I'm selling Dylan Harper if the market's that hot.
Sure.
But I'm definitely not buying right now.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I that's exactly why I wanted to point this out, because it does show you that a lot of people were high on Dylan Harper during the playoff run because he did perform really well.
Right.
But to that point, if you're maybe a savvy seller, that's a good selling point right now to take advantage of it. And you could be wrong. Dylan Harper could have another step up in the next season, and then, anything can happen, of course. But yes, I'm with you. If I see those numbers, I'm like, oh, a lot of people are buying Dylan Harper because of the playoff run, because people are buying really into the potential. It's almost like prospecting in a way. Then if I'm in it for like very little, I'll take my profits and try to invest that into somewhere else.
100%. And we've seen this over and over again. It's like really like the only guys on release that you want to go after are the Cooper Flags, are the Victor Wembanyama's, are the Shohei Ohtanis. Those are or we should call them S tier. And then everybody kind of is like, well, you got to wait until they establish their careers, right? So to me, it's like Dylan Harper is far from that category, and it's not knocking his talent or anything. He's going to be the Spurs are very fun to watch. And even then, we've seen Pippen will always be less desirable than Jordan, regardless. Of course. And it's always going to be that way because MJ overshadows everybody on the Bulls, regardless of how everybody contributed to those championships. MJ is going to steal light. San Antonio Spurs, honestly, not the best collectible like history. David Robinson, all these, like Tim Duncan, like all these guys that are Hall of Famers, they're not on the top of your priority list. So someone like Victor Wembanyama, it's top priority right now. It's hot in the hobby. I don't see number 2, number 3, number 4 after Wemby being highly desirable. So yeah, to me, it's like you got to sell on the hot market.
Yep, I agree. And, just to give you the other numbers, Michael Jordan, number one, 39,000 sales. That's not surprising at all. Wemby at 37,000. Cooper Flag at number 3, just under 20,000. Then we got Dylan Harper at 17. And number 5 is Shohei Ohtani at 15,000. And I think that's largely because of the price of his cards now.
It's crazy.
Just going up. So, but still in the top 5. A lot of people still investing in Shohei at these prices.
Looking at like the MJ, LeBron, I'll put even Steph Curry. And I'm a big believer in this. What we talk about, like with prospects and stuff, on one way, the other side is there's also corrections to be had on the other side, because I think a lot of MJ cards are undervalued and people are realizing. You see in the Ken Griffey Jr. market right now where, was Ken Griffey Jr. undervalued in terms of all his other collectibles? And a lot of people are thinking, yeah, right? And LeBron James, same, Steph Curry. And those are things that I think have a lot of potential, and you're seeing it by the activity of how many people are submitting now. Right? Because the market's starting to get hot and it's a supply demand thing. They realize, hey, there's a correction on the other side. I think Jordan cards are undervalued. I think LeBron cards are undervalued. So there's that going on at the same time as, Dylan Harper, 17,000 cards. There's two sides to it, right? So I think there's corrections both ways. And like I said, we won't know. We could speculate. I speculate that's what's happening. I've been monitoring, saying, okay, when is the correction on the other side? The LeBron James, the Steph Curry, especially Steph Curry, the Michael Jordans, even the David Robinsons. To me, those are super undervalued. I think there's a lot of value even in baseball and other sports that, people look at and they don't even know who, David Robinson is, right? Which is crazy. So it's like stuff like that where I see the correction happening on the other side too.
Yeah. How can people not know the Admiral? Come on, let's go, people. But yes, opportunities are everywhere. I agree with that. Okay, next number. I'm going to give you this as a percentage, 28.5%. Okay, that's the price jump of a very tall pitcher, Jacob Misiorowski. Big jump, number 1 in all of June right now in terms of relative jump. Surprised by that?
I'm not surprised because he is lights out. He's probably going to win the Cy Young Award, which obviously gives him the bump. He's throwing the ball 105 miles an hour plus. Like, I think he broke another record, like 106.6 or something stupid. I don't even think humanly that's possible for the arm to hold up, which honestly, coming from a baseball background, that concerns me because I know scientifically your body can hold up. How many years can your body hold? And like I said, you can't compare someone to someone else, but based on history, no one has ever held up throwing the ball 105 miles an hour consistently, especially at a young age. Not saying anything bad's going to happen, but like I said, we're in such a weird area of sport that, there's so much uncertainty of, pitchers, the history of pitchers blowing out. And I think that's why pitchers market has always been kind of iffy. Because the true baseball players know, like, a long career in the big leagues is very rare as a pitcher. Like, you look at the history, and that's why what guys like Nolan Ryan had accomplished is crazy. Like 27, 28 years in the big leagues, 5,000 plus strikeouts. Those records are going to be very tough to beat, right? So going back to modern cards and pitchers, I'm still very cautionary, but guys like Skeens, Skubal, Misiorowski, like all these guys are proving that, hey, pitchers deserve a marketplace too, which I love. But like I said, the pricing is crazy right now. I think it's a sell within now till, when he wins the Cy Young, and then if you really like him, you buy him in the future when the market's soft.
Yeah, no, it's, we've always been wary of pitchers on this pod and in the hobby in general. So that's nothing new. But yes, it's always tempting though, because when you see a player like Misiorowski doing what he's doing, you're like, wow, that's insane, right? And that was Paul Skeens last year, and Paul Skeens has even come down to earth a little bit this season. You know,
I mean, look at what Paul Skeens have been doing though the last couple of years. Would you say his market has blown up over the last year? I'm not saying because it has blown up. I'm saying from when he
come down
blew
a bit,
up,
yeah.
It's come down. But he's been pitching lights out, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, well, now you're seeing it right now, especially in Paul Skeens. Was it hype? If he's doing, like, if Mizrachi does that next year, are you going to see a value increase or a bump in pricing? Paul Skeens' market says probably not, right? Mm-hmm. So is it a buy or sell?
Unless he hits 110 mile per hour, then we're going to be talking about. I mean, if anyone could do it. He is a tall guy. I think that's a huge advantage, being that tall. You know, Randy Johnson had that.
Let me ask you a question. Does like we always, because we've seen it with Ant-Man in basketball, teams do matter. Milwaukee usually had a stain where it's just like you don't have guys like from the smaller teams that, and Giannis is a good example too. Is that still true, or do you see that going away?
I think it's still true. I think it's not true if you're Wemby or someone like Wemby, where you kind of transcend the league or the sport. You know what I mean? And that's a really high bar, and not everyone can reach it.
That's a S tier. Yeah. That's the S tier we're talking about, where they could move the perception of buying patterns based on their talent alone and who they are.
Yes, sir.
Only a few people, though.
Very few. Very few. And, you know, just to kind of go back on the pitching discussion, I don't know if you heard, but Verlander just announced he's going to retire at the end of the season, and it's really essentially an end of an era. Like those pitchers, Kershaw retired last year, Verlander's going to retire after this year. Scherzer is probably going to retire this year or next because he's just injured all the time, and you're not going to see those 200 inning pitch every season for a decade pitchers anymore, right? Like seems to be unlikely.
And you know what? You make a good point, because I think those guys are all buys. I think they're so cheap relative to the market, and there's so much buying opportunity for pitchers who've established kind of like their careers, like Verlander. Verlander, unbelievable. I played against him in college, and to see him he went to Old Dominion. He was in the Cape Cod League. And to see him still pitch and be effective for how long he's been effective and what he's done. Like I said, for a pitcher to be in the 80-90 WAR, like we're talking Scherzer, you're talking Verlander, Kershaw. Kershaw is probably the best out of all of them. But like I said, it's hard to see it happen. If Paul Skeens does what he's doing for the next 15 years, then that's what you get. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, would you rather invest in Paul Skeens or Justin Verlander or Kershaw or a Scherzer, right? Even DeGrom, like those guys that are like have established. So I think they're a buy, man. They're so good. They've been so good for so long and that's the thing. There's an influx of young people that I don't know if they watch baseball. Like they're just card collecting, but the true people who watch baseball know how good these players were, and they're making those decisions based off a career. So I think it's a buying period for guys like Verlander.
You know what? To be fair to the younger generation coming in, just the way that media is, like I feel like a lot less people these days are watching full games, let alone baseball, even basketball. Me for example. I don't think I've watched a full basketball game in a long time. I like to watch the highlights, I like to keep updated on the scores. I like to watch the YouTube clips. Those are always fun. But I feel like that won't prevent the sport growing. Like it's just a different way of viewing it, right? So I think in regards to baseball, I think MLB is doing a better job than they have been in the past decade, where they've been doing a horrible job in kind of marketing the sport. Right. But now you're seeing a lot more clips. It's fun to watch on YouTube. And as they continue to improve the marketing of the sport, you're going to have more fans come in. And I think as a result, more fans means more collectors potentially. And then you're going to see like, you know what? Wow, who's this Justin Verlander? What? Look at the stat line. Like, it's the same with us for Nolan Ryan. That's crazy what he accomplished. I think Nolan Ryan is highly underrated, to tell you the truth.
And his card prices, I think, they are bonkers on some. You know what I mean? On the right cards, like a PSA 10,
sure,
goes for a lot, right?
Rookie card, yeah, for sure. But still, like, compared to modern cards that cost double that for, for lesser pitchers or lesser players, it's the value is still there for a lot of these Hall of Famers. So yeah, I think there's going to be opportunity even into the future for baseball, basketball, any sport, really. Okay, last couple of numbers before we wrap up this segment. Minus 15%. So the other way around is Wembanyama price sales. So I think that's a function of probably the hype leading to leading into the playoffs and the finals, and now we're seeing kind of that expected correction. So I wanted to point that out. And for baseball, minus 13.5% was number 2. Chicago White Sox, Japanese player Murakami. He's definitely come down since his injury.
Makes sense.
So another, yeah. I was honestly surprised how well he did coming into the season. And I'm not going to lie, I was buying into the hype a little bit. And then I'm like, my laziness paid off because he got injured and then his market started to come down.
One thing that's really impressive with Murakami, I'll say, like I wouldn't buy him because his market, I still wouldn't probably buy him based off a 15% discount just because baseball's hard, hitting is hard. You see that with Cal Raleigh, he put up 61 last year, and then, baseball's not easy. So to put up those type of numbers, but I will give him credit for him to hit 20 home runs in 200 at bats in his rookie season is absolutely insanity. So I could understand why his market went as he did, but yeah, it's a tough one for me because I love watching him hit. But will he continue this type of production when he comes back? It's to be seen. But he has to get that average up. He has to be an established hitter. It's the same with Cal Raleigh. It's like, look at and we talked about this like months ago where it's like, get all your Cal Raleighs, sell them. You got to sell them, right? So,
Cal Raleigh, 2026 season, just for you guys to know, 170 batting average.
How many 7 home runs maybe? Or what?
9.
9?
9 homers.
After a 61 or
Ouch.
60 home run season?
What a crash, man. Baseball's hard.
Baseball is hard. Hitting's hard.
All right, and last 2 numbers, 4. That is the number of cars that sold for more than $1 million in June alone. All right. So we talked about this on the previous pod with DC. 2.9 million was the LeBron James, his rookie 0304 Exquisite rookie patch auto, number 23. Number 2 was the 2.56 million sale of the Shohei Ohtani 2018 Topps Chrome Super Fractor, BGS 9.5. And the other 2, 1.8 million, that was the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle and a PSA 8. Okay, and then the number 4, $1 million sale was 1.06 million was the SGA 2025-26 Topps Chrome Gold Logo Man autograph card, 1 of 1.
Right.
So there you go.
You know what, Clark, that doesn't surprise me. It's something that we said on the pod before. We're going to see a lot more record-breaking sales because, like I said, there's 2 ways to look at it. It's either undervalued or overvalued. And all these players that you mentioned in an emerging marketplace, they're S-tier players. We talked about S-tier, A-tier, B-tier, whatever you want to categorize it. But it's only happening to these S-tier players. Of course, there's A-tier players have a marketplace too, but these record-breaking numbers, and I don't think we're done. I think you're going to see more of it. And you mentioned that Wemby was down 15%. He's an S-tier player. He's a guy that, hey, you know what? You don't need necessarily the $5 million Wemby card that sold. There's so much opportunity. If that one card sold for $5 million, there's other opportunities on Wemby that I still think is cheap because he's an S-tier player. S-tier is generational type player that, you know what? Even if you're overpaying right now, at a 15% discount, it might be worth it. And we all seen the Ohtani market. We had buying opportunities. S-tier player, generational talent, and that's kind of how I categorize it. I'm not surprised at those record sales, and I still think more are going to come. And I think that's what drives the market, is that when somebody pulls something big, they know that what they're sitting on is potential life-changing money. And that changes the hobby completely. If you just give that opportunity to pull or get $1 million card, people are in, right? So it's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And I like how you define S tier. I think the challenge really is some people put players into the S tier that probably shouldn't be in there. Like generational is, that word is thrown out a lot. So you got to be careful too. Like Cooper Flag, I love him as a player, but he's not in the S tier yet. You know what I mean? Because he's such a young guy.
Right. But I think he has the S tier potential where,
yes,
like someone like Dylan Harper, for instance, I don't think he has S tier potential. So for me, it's like I would not necessarily invest in the Dylan Harper over a Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag, I think he can be S tier. I think,
me too.
Ohtani wasn't S tier in 2019, 2020. He has potential to be. Now he's an S tier, right? So, and Wemby, same way. First year, it's like, can he be? We all said, yeah. And that's what you're seeing, right?
Yep, exactly. And last number, we don't have to talk about this much, but I wanted to kind of give our listeners an update. 12 million. Wow, we said 12 million a lot. That's PSE's backlog number to date right now. And I think they went from 14 to 12. So they cut down 2 million over the last month and a half or so. And they said they'll reopen the value tier when they get to 5 million. So we still have a ways to go.
It's a good problem to have though, Clark. If you're PSA, you're like, we're in a good position, but yeah. Money sitting on the table.
We're in pole position when it comes to grading. Okay, let's move on to over-under. All right, so we talked about big numbers. I'm going to bring it down a bit. The number is $100,000, okay? So which of these cards are six-figure cards? Which of these are under, okay?
Interesting, okay.
2019, Topps Chrome, Bundesliga, Red Refractor. Okay, and Red Refractor for this set is numbered 10 actually, of Erling Haaland, PSA 10, the darling of World Cup this year.
Easy.
Taking the world by storm. The Norwegian Viking.
Yeah.
Red Refractor, PSA 10,
Easy.
2019 to 20.
Undervalued, 100K plus, for sure.
I knew I would get you with that. 93,000.
Great buy.
940.
Great buy.
Yeah. I think that guy made money. That was a sale on July 2nd.
Cheap.
You could flip that easily. Yeah, you can flip that easily even now.
Even now. Yeah, 100%. Like, and that's the thing. It's like there's so much opportunity. That's crazy. Like 93,000 compared to, I know it's a lot of money still, but relative to history and the way the market's gone, that's a steal. I don't care auto or not. That's a steal. A Red Refractor PSA 10 of Haaland, like incredible.
Beautiful. I agree. All right, next one. The 2017 Panini Contenders Rookie Ticket Autograph Cracked Ice, which is numbered 25. Also PSA 10 of Patrick Mahomes.
Interesting. I would have think that this would be a $100,000 plus card. And I'm going to go with that. I think Mahomes' market is starting to pick up again. I believe so. And out of 25, Cracked Ice was hot. Like people loved Cracked Ice, especially in those earlier years. So I'm going to say it's over.
You're right. 139,500.
Which could be cheap.
Which could be cheap, but the reason why I chose this number is like, man, the KC Chiefs weren't the team this past year, but Mahomes' market is still hot. Like, I've been waiting. I'm waiting to get a Mahomes card, but I'm like, when is it going to come down? It looks like he might be an S-tier player.
It's S-tier. It's the same thing as a LeBron or Steph Curry. I think Mahomes established that. So a lot of people are realizing, I want to get this early, get these like untouchable cards early before they hit the $1 million mark, right? So.
Right. Sure. Okay, here's another one. I got two more for you. The 2025, very modern, 2025-26 Topps Chrome, Red Refractor, number 5, PSA 9, Auto 10 of LeBron James.
A 2025 Topps Chrome? Auto. Wow. This is an interesting one because I want to say it's under.
Here's the card.
Beautiful card. That's an amazing card, by the way.
And it's this new auto. He does it with the crown.
Right, I've seen that. Picture. Yeah. And LeBron has interesting autos too. I think over time they're gonna all be valued differently based on his autos, but
like Ohtani,
yeah. Everything's unique. I'm gonna say, man, I could see it going over, to be honest, just because Topps Chrome is hot. Red. Is it true red?
True red.
I want to say it's over based on LeBron's market. I think LeBron's market is picking up, but it shouldn't be.
What do you mean it shouldn't be?
I don't think that card should be there yet. The Haaland card's different just because I think the hype around the World Cup made sense, but I think LeBron has so much more other cards that are valuable. But like I said, I'm going to still say over just because it's a red refractor and it's that Topps Chrome, that it's fresh, right? And it's going to be a very, very valuable card in the future. I could see it going up. Under 100 grand is a steal for this card. I'm going to say it's over.
Damn. I was trying to employ hobby logic, but it is 198,000.
Crazy. That's crazy.
I could see how people could say it's under because it's new. There's better cards of LeBron, but I think what you said at the very end kind of explains why it's 200,000. The newness, the Topps Chrome, the hype of these new basketball cards with the license.
Yeah,
is driving,
and LeBron market is just hot in general, so that combination makes sense. Like red refractors there's only 5, and probably one PSA 10, 1 or 2 PSA 10s, right?
Yeah. I think that's what it says. Yeah, I have to double check. But here, last one, and this is going to be interesting. What you think? The 2025 Topps Chrome red geometric refractor. So these new sets have different refractors now. Numbered to 5. So still numbered to 5. PSA 10 Auto 10 of LeBron James. The same card, but red geometric. But it's a PSA 10 Auto 10. So now this is pure hobby logic. What do you think people are willing to pay for this card?
That's crazy. Because I want to say it's under, but and the other one is a PSA 9, right?
The other one, True Red's PSA 9 Auto 10.
That's how powerful a True Red is. I would say,
true.
As crazy as this sounds, I would think that it would be half the price. As crazy, it shouldn't be. I'd rather take that red geometric for half the price than double. So
really.
It should be over based on that sale, but I'm going to use my logic of this is how stupid the hobby is, and I'm going to say it's under.
You're Jedi Master today. 84,000.
Crazy.
84,000.
It's crazy.
For this red geometric number to 5 PSA 1010.
You can't make this hobby
I'm aligned with you, dude. I would rather have this red geometric for that price than the other one for 200,000.
Yeah. But that just proves how much weight true refractors. I don't care what anybody says. It's always been that way, and I think it always will. I think the gap will close because I don't think it's a 50% discount, more than 50%, because it's PSA 9 versus PSA 10. So we're talking about almost like a 70-80% discount. I'd rather the 70-80% discount with the red geometric or red wave, whatever it is. But a true red, true orange, true gold will always be top priority.
I'm with you there. All right, that was a fun over-under segment. Let's wrap up this weekly episode with our weekly regular feature called Pick One. So you have one for us? Yeah.
Yes, I do. I'm excited about this because and I'm sorry to my baseball guys, it's not going to be baseball this week because I want to discuss this card in particular with Cooper Flag because I think Cooper Flag's a buy. I think let me restate this. I think there are a lot of undervalued Cooper Flag cards and there are a lot of overvalued Cooper Flag cards. So all the numbered colored cards of Topps Chrome, of Topps paper, all the autos I think are super overvalued, like crazy prices. And I'm going to go back to mega boxes. Then you have the whole mega box incident of X-Fractors that happened with Cooper Flags cards. So originally, it said blue X-Fractors on the box. And obviously, Topps printed just the regular X-Fractors, and it was a big deal. So they offered this kind of like trade swap where you could get the blue X-Fractors, but obviously there's still a lot of regular X-Fractors floating around. And X-Fractors by no mean, especially in modern cards, are rare. They're like a refractor. They've printed way more X-Fractors now than previous. But because of this debacle, right? There are two different cards. There's a blue X-Fractor and then the regular X-Fractor. The blue X-Fractor right now has a PSA population of 161 in a PSA 10. And then it's selling for about $1,700 to $1,800, okay? For a PSA 10, which I think, in my opinion, relative to where numbered cards are, this is a steal, okay? The regular X-Fractors, pop count of 1,390, okay? Compared to 161, okay? So the regular X-Fractors, big population, they're selling for about $700. My question is, does the blue increase because of the swap and we're just waiting for PSA to grade them? Is there a justification of 2 to 3x, 2.5 to 3x on the blue? Would you rather pay $1,800 for the blue X-Fractor, or would you rather pay $600-$700 for a regular X-Fractor with as of right now, it's about 8 times more pop count. But we don't know what that number is going to be in terms of the blue, because a lot of them are being submitted. How many actually got swapped versus how many are in mega boxes? I believe it's closed. You can't no longer submit and swap.
I was going to ask that. Okay, so it's closed.
Yeah,
okay.
I believe it's closed. We could be wrong, but to my knowledge, it's closed.
Okay.
Which one are you picking? Are you paying $1,800 or $600?
Honestly, I thought the pop count number for the X-Fractor, before they realized the mistake, I thought that would be lower. So I was a little surprised that was as high as it was, even still. So for that reason, I'm kind of going with the blue. I think if it's only, I'm surprised at the other way too, that the pop count for blue was a blue X-Fractor.
But you got to remember the backlog though. It's like we don't know that. We could be, that pop count could go to 500.
It could, but I guess I'm betting on that it won't.
Yeah, true. But
I don't know how much time they had to submit before the whole PSA backlog and when that actual submission date closed. So I guess that would influence my ultimate decision. But based on the information I have in front of me, I think I would just go the 3X for the blue because it's just a lower pop count.
Interesting.
I'm not going to risk it.
I personally think both cards are a buy, in my opinion. In my humble opinion, this is not financial advice. I just think it has so much eye appeal, and based on both.
Okay. Yeah.
And based on sales of the numbered Cooper Flags, the numbered Cooper Flags are insane. It's the same image, different parallel, non-numbered, obviously X-Fractor, but that's what we're talking about. Is some cards are super undervalued for Cooper, some are overvalued. I think these are undervalued still. I think there's so much legroom on it, but I would pick the blue as well. But that would be my only gripe, would be I don't know how many blues are going to be popping up come September that could potentially affect the price. I think both are buys. I think I'm happy with the $600, $700 purchase of the regular X-Fractor at that price, even with the pop count of 1,300. Because like I said, if Cooper Flag becomes an S-tier player, and basically people think the same thing because these numbered cards are going for thousands and thousands of dollars. So what's the next best alternative? It's the non-numbered parallels. We've seen it in other markets. So I think both are a buy, but as of right now, I rather pay the 1800 because I think that card could go bonkers too.
I wonder how many more blue X Factors are out there. You know what I mean? In terms of printed, that's another factor.
Well, I would say total, it has to be like 2,000 to 3,000 total of both. Because I would say 1,300 is graded right now, right? So I don't know how many aren't graded. The majority, a lot of people traded those in to get the blues, right? So I think a lot of people have blues, but we don't know the total pop count, maybe 400 or 500 eventually. We don't know. And then maybe 60% of that is ripped and 40%, 30% are still in mega boxes or whatever's left over. We don't know that number, but I would say it's based on previous X factors. I'm guessing 2,000 to 3,000 total print run.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's just a rare guess though. I could be totally wrong. There could be 10,000.
These days, yeah, we don't know what the print run is. But I just checked. The submission deadline was June 30th, so it is closed indeed. So
and
yeah,
we're gonna see
just a couple
it,
weeks or just a week ago. So we might see those numbers get bumped up a little bit. All right, that's a good one. I'm gonna look at those blue X Fractors, see how nice they look in. Maybe I'll grab one. All right, mine. Don't worry, guys. I do have a baseball one. So one of us had to have a baseball one for this pick one, and of course it's Ohtani. All right, so I got 10K. Just say I got 10K. I want to buy an Ohtani card. You know, I'm just going all in.
I like
with my 10K. Which would you buy? Okay, for a couple cards that sold recently for 10K, you can either get the 2024 Topps Transcendent Collection autograph card of Ohtani, numbered to 25, and a BGS 9.5 Auto 10. Okay, I can show you that card if you want to look at it.
If I'm spending 10 grand, Clark, I need to know what the image looks like here. And by the way, Clark, I play this game almost every night. If I had $10,000 to spend on Ohtani, which one would it be?
Yes.
So,
and then you know what's funny? Every time you play the game, you get lesser cards. It's like, oh, I should have bought the other one for 10K a month ago.
It doesn't qualify anymore.
It doesn't qualify anymore. Yeah. So there's
typical Transcendent.
Bad over the shoulder portrait shot kind of. His new auto, of course. His latest auto, at least. Or, you know, we talked about this too. I feel like there could be value, but I don't know if you're going to buy into it. The 2019 Topps Heritage. Okay, so it's old auto. Real one, dual autograph. Okay, so he's not the only one on the autograph, but it's a dual autograph. BGS 9.5, Auto 10, same grade. Him, and number to 25 as well. The other guy is a guy named Mike Trout. And you got his number on the autograph too.
I love that card. It's
easy for you, eh?
It's easy. Because I don't love Transcendent. I tried to love Transcendent many times. Since 2019, to be exact. I've tried to love it.
Why don't you like about it?
I was so admired by the $25,000 boxes. I've watched so many rips trying to like that Transcendent, and they have cool stuff in it, but the regular autos, you look at it, if from a 25,000, the logic is Ohtani autos in his, especially 2018 season, should have been the most valuable card, especially coming out of $25,000 box or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The resale on that is terrible relative to where it's being ripped out of, right? So to me, I've always tried to say, Transcendent is the premium product of Topps. But year after year, they make it so boring in terms of like how the card looks, the eye appeal, you know? And I'm not saying that for everything. There are some cool products within that Topps Transcendent product, but I'm just saying from like a basic Ohtani like auto card, it just doesn't do it for me. I tried, but for me, it's the Topps Heritage, second year. Mike Trout is a Hall of Famer, so I have no problem with him being dual auto. And to the point where I think the fact that they were teammates is going to be a story in itself. Right?
Yeah.
So I really like that dual auto with Trout. I've always been a huge fan of that particular card that you showed. Super rare, number to 25, super hard pull. We all know Topps Heritage, probably one of the most boring rips possible. So
yeah.
So it to me, it's a no-brainer. It's the Trout dual auto, $10K. I think it's great value for a 2019 Ohtani auto, especially, you mentioned it, it's the old auto, which I think there's going to be a premium. So $10K for old auto, I'm in.
Don't have to add anything to that at all. Those are my thoughts exactly. It's a 2019 dual auto for all those reasons you just mentioned. So that was nice, quick, and easy. All right, we appreciate you guys. We'll have a brand new episode for you next week. And yeah, it's going to be fun because I'm going to be at card shows at Fanatics Fest. If you're there in New York on Thursday, please DM me. Love to meet up. I'm going to be at the West Coast Card Show on Friday and Saturday in Anaheim. So if you're there, DM me as well. And then I'm back home, and then I'll be at the National in Chicago a couple weeks after that. So a lot of card shows, a lot of content from those card shows we'll have for you. So subscribe, tell your friends about the podcast, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.